Chief Petty Officer Pat Patillo reporting their state of readiness. Lieutenant Commander Mathers ignites the thunder flash, the bugle blows, the crews take the strain.
The Royal Navy's field gun competition provided twice daily reenactments of a heroic naval action in support of the army at the besieged Ladysmith during the first year of the Boer War in 1899. The Victorian media got into the act too.
The Boer War, that got a lot of publicity and so on, and certainly when the guns were paraded in the arena when the Royal Navy got back, they were given a rapturous reception. Everybody was extremely pleased to see them.
When the chasm was added to an evolving format in 1907, field gun, as we know it, was born.
To the field gunner here year by year, this is his cup final. This is his Twickenham. This is his whatever in any sport. Although we don't class these people as sportsmen, their training is very fierce and very intense, and only the brave do it. Everyone is a volunteer. And that's where the pride and the passion and the enthusiasm comes from.
But to those boys, it was their entire life. It was the reason why many of them joined the Navy. The whole point about the field gun run was that there was total commitment from the men concerned. They would do anything to win. They would break their fingers, they'd break their legs, they'd break their arms. They had to win. But there was a commitment, which was what communicated itself to the audience, and that's what made it work.
1999 became the year of Devonport. Along with most of the silverware, they created a new world record, depriving Portsmouth, running in the foreground here, of their 15-year hold on history's fastest time. We'll spend some time with Devonport A crew during the course of this film, as a means of expressing something of what this remarkable team sport actually was. We'll follow them from debrief through all their backstage routines and preparations, en route to their biggest run.
You've got to get your checks in on the ramp. We'll start cutting them ramps up again this afternoon. Spiral ramp was 52.8, down 57.8, action 1 minute dead.
The only thing that's different, on the gun out, when we do the gun out, it looks like the breech is moving to the wall. Jan says to me, and it clears and goes through nice now. Could have done with that, on that hole. The breech could have done with just dragging away from the side of the wall.
I thought the breech clipped the right-hand side of the hole as we looked down the track.
That's what I'm saying. If they do the same on the other holes they've done on that hole.
Well, it was a good recovery anyway, 24.80. Run time was 2:46.2. All right, happy? Right, well done, fellas.
After the debrief, a viewing. Trainers, crew, cigarettes.
Oh, dearie me. Oh, it fell down. Can we watch that again?
34 is the average age of A crew, which is very, very high. Some of the people out there first started running field gun in 1976. You know, we're talking 41-year-olds, and to come out and do this, not so much at Earl's Court, but down in Devonport, day in, day out, 6 days a week, and doing 6 runs a day, it takes an awful lot of dedication. So, yeah, they're an old crew, let's say, but very, very experienced, and that's being shown out in the arena.
Strictly, this is not a young man's game anyway. It's not necessarily an older man's game, but it's a game for someone who's probably more experienced and maybe mature and disciplined, which strictly younger men are not, if you know what I'm saying. Because I was a young man once.
How are you feeling?
Nervous.
Yeah, it's about the time it starts to kick in.
Well, it's just like waiting to get shot, isn't it? I mean, nightmare. It's not that, it's all right when you're out there, but it's the anticipation of what you're going to do and what they're going to do, and not so much making a mistake, but just going through your drill in your head, like what you've got to do, you know. And if you've had, I mean, I I didn't have a particularly good practice period this morning myself, personally. So I'm thinking about that now.
Now you're carrying an injury.
I am.
Will tell us about it?
Broken foot. I broke my foot about 4 weeks ago on a training run down in Devonport, and that was it really. I broke my foot. I get a bit of painkiller. That's it. It's eased off now. It's not so bad. It might never matter really. I think once the banger goes and you're running down the straight, you don't really feel it. You're thinking, you're too concentrated on what you're doing to even worry about that.
They were laying the foundations of the car park, or the plans were all out, when the Minister of Defence was still denying it was the last year. Do you remember that funny period? Robertson wouldn't, Robertson wouldn't come to terms with it. He wouldn't say it was going to be the last time.
It's a tremendous sport, and for those people who will never know it, they will have missed a tremendous event, because it is a grueling, it is the toughest team sport in the world. And unless you've seen it and experienced it, either at one of the home tracks of one of the crews or up here at the World Tournament, then you really will have missed one of the greatest events and one of the greatest sports of all time.
Forward, and roll the shoulders. Roll them, roll them, roll them! Hammer! And forward faster! Roll them, roll them! Hammer! Here we go. It's nice. Let's have it a bit higher again. Let's build it up. Let's take something out there. Here we go. Once through, short and sharp, nice and loud. Stand by. And back, 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 back. 1, 2, over, push, 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 push. 1, 2, twist. 1, 2, feel it, fellas. Let's control it. Let's put it all in the right place. Hands up. Video. Clean, deliberate drill. In. Let's work hard for it though, boys. Let's fucking work hard for it. Come on. Here we go. Come on, let's have it. Come on. Here we come. Let's get it going. Get it going. Build it up. Build it up. Stand by. Stand by. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh.
That special breed of men parade on the last night.
Past experience in battle and warfare has shown that the field gunners will come to the forefront in times of need, because they're used to putting themselves into a dangerous environment. Personally, I haven't seen that, but I'm assured from a number of commanding officers who I've spoken to who served in the Falklands that that's the case.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Royal Navy's traditional field gun competition.
You can feel it when we walked in that blue light. You can't explain it. You got to be in amongst the 18.
Yeah, but when you say you can't explain it,
you can't
try to explain it.
When the lads,
when you walked in there, try to explain what you felt like.
When the blue light comes on, and you march in, you take that first step forward, and every movement, every movement, every hair, and everybody has got the same movement. Every breath, everybody knows exactly what everybody else is going to do. That is when you've really clicked, and the boys have really put it together. And when you're marching up that straight, you don't give a damn about the crowd or the other crew on the other side. You know you're going to beat them, because the arms are swinging in time, the feet are hitting the deck at the same time, your head's up, and you know there's a big lump in the middle of your throat saying the 18 of yous are one. That's what we all felt tonight. I could feel it.
But what was so wonderful, actually, is in the last year ever of the field gun race, they beat the record, they broke the record.
With just a handful of runs left in the Royal Navy's field gun competition, Devonport took on Fleet Air Arm and the Clock. Their old and experienced crew were on the brink of history. Once they joined Field Gun in 1947, Fleet Air Arm proved to be a brilliantly successful team, establishing a reputation for professionalism and an approach to training altogether different from, say, Portsmouth's traditional and ultra-physical style. 3 rounds. Devonport set a new run-out record with 1 minute 20.86 seconds. The world record was on. The run back. Three rounds. And Devonport's split time is 58.65 seconds for the run back, still comfortably faster than average. The run home. Fleet Air Arm sprint for the line, pushing Devonport all the way. The Portsmouth record set in 1984 finally goes. Devonport split for the run home, 20.92 seconds. They've set a new world record time of 2 minutes 40.43 seconds. Nobody has ever run quicker, and nobody ever will. After Portsmouth and Fleet Air Arm completed the last run on that last night in August 1999, the audience sent a message to those responsible for ending Field Gun.
And what we've described over the years as the toughest team competition in the world marches into history.
I remember one of the earliest mistakes I made when I first took over the Royal Tournament was to, it's quite a mistake to actually address the field guns anyway, but I actually addressed the entire field guns, and I, much on the lines of, well chaps, you know, the great thing about this is it's a show, and we're all here to entertain the audience. Well, of course they could not have cared less. To them it was not a show. To them, the audience
it was
completely
like, it was like
invisible.
Mr. Blair with the Women's Institute.
Yeah, it was completely, the audience was completely invisible. They could not have cared less whether there were no people in the house or whether it was full. That all they were interested in was getting their race to work. And if I told them it went over for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and could they please get on because, you know, it's a show, this chaps, they would tell me, or they wouldn't actually tell me, but their eyes would tell me that I could just go and get stuffed, because as far as they were concerned, they were going to do it the way they were going to do it, and that was it.
Well, it's sort of sculpted my life, if you like, over a period of 20 years. It's been good for me. I think it's one of the best leadership courses we've got. It's it just gives us a different person. They go back in the fleet and they are a better person. They're somebody that leads in communication skills. They're key personnel once they leave here.
Ball starts here. What we set out to do, take each one as it comes. This is the next one. This afternoon's run. Nothing else matters. This afternoon's run. Change legs. Deliberate drill. All the time. Do your individual bits of drill. Collectively put together a time that's worthy of this crew. Okay, come out of that. On the road. Stand by.
There are many elements of the tournament which will continue. And around the world, whenever you see
jumping going,
yeah, but there's everything else that was invented for the tournament. There's the show jumping, there's the King's Troop, there's the House and Cabaret music, right? There's the Conjure Space, there's the med cycles. All those things were invented for the tournament. There's not a single act that you see entertained anywhere in the world that wasn't invented for the Royal Tournament.
That's right.
And all of them are going and carrying on, and in their different ways they're being done in Canada or in America or in Bahrain or in Jordan or in Oman or wherever else. I mean, and Saudi Arabia. I mean, we've done them all over the place. But the one thing that will never ever be done again is the field gun competition. They tried to do it in Canada, in Nova Scotia. They
tried it in South Africa, it didn't work.
In Nova Scotia, excellent to do actually. And they do a sort of pale imitation of the field guns, but it doesn't even begin. That's the one thing which will never be resurrected. And to resurrect it would take, well, it would be impossible because the connection has gone. The line of, if you like, the line of expertise has gone.
For every man, his own chair. But this is hardly a case of sitting about, for these are members of the Combined Services Gymnastic Team. They were rehearsing at Aldershot for this year's Royal Tournament, which opens on the 4th of June. Their performance looks like being as efficient as it is strenuous. And when they go to work on the horse, they certainly prove what fitness and physical training can do. As good as a professional variety turn by a troop.
(1919), and the country moves back into peacetime. The Royal Marines make a first appearance at the show. This old footage shows the Victory Naval Review at Southend. Admiral Sir David Beatty takes the salute. The Royal Tournament had acquired a new partner and a new name for 1 year, the Royal Navy Military and Air Force Tournament, acknowledging the rapid evolution of the aeroplane and the formation of the RAF. In 1920, the name changed for the final time to the Royal Tournament. But what was the show like in the interwar years?
The show was very much the same every year. There were visits from overseas, which made it different, but basically it was in a bit of a rut. It was filling all right. People came to see it. But possibly that was when this idea began to take root, that the tournament was something that you went to see every 2 or 3 years. It's always going to be there. No need to go every year. Nevertheless, it was full, but it's not very well written up. And looking at old programs, it seems to be very similar.
The King and Queen, paying a visit to the tournament at Olympia, where the show has been playing since 1906. British Movietone News, across the 1930s, posted these glimpses of the show as it was in the years before the Second World War.
royal princesses anticipate their visit to the royal tournament with keen delight. Naturally, they take with them the rest of their family, their mother, who is wearing a new broad-brimmed hat, and their father, who is to perform the opening ceremony.
Along with the traditional, the comic, and the bizarre.
Real soldiers become toy soldiers when units of the Duke of York Military School, Durban, practice an item for the Royal Tournament. It's an occasion when the Sergeant Major prefers his men to be as wooden-headed as possible. A machine gunner dismisses the parade.
(1937), and the young Princess Elizabeth and her younger sister Margaret were becoming regulars. By 1938 and the 55th tournament, even the Royal Scots Greys were turning to comedy.
They do it so well, it looks as if the horses follow the music. Actually, of course, it's the other way round, if that's not giving away a secret.
And battle reenactments, of course. Field gun was staple diet and drew men from across the fleet, as it always would.
I was based with the Royal Marines at 3 Commando Brigade.
How long have you been with them?
I've spent the last 6 years with the Royal Marines.
And that's a pretty testing environment too, I imagine, isn't it?
It certainly is, but it's a different type of testing environment, and these are a very special breed of men, field gunners, who can prove themselves when they go back to the fleet in their own environment.
There was that lovely story about the field guns. You remember, years and years ago, they brought in a sort of time and motion study on it. Someone thought that they would actually find a better way of doing this, you know, where they could do it quicker or whatever. And so they brought in this professional team of are they called time and motion or whatever they're called? Right. They're these sort of time and motion study people. And they studied the field gun, and they studied it in great length, and they produced their report that said that actually it was impossible to do it as quickly as they were, and therefore it was unlikely they could do it any quicker.